this chat today. Rhonda, you want to go ahead and start and introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. It is very nice to see everyone. I'm Rhonda Blackburn. I am the Senior Director of Academic Services and Client Success. Sorry, I just got the new title, so I always forget what it is. But with Strut Learning. But I'm also teach at the University of Maryland Global Campus. I've been in academia for years and then go into corporate. So I have both sides. So I'll be talking a little bit about industry and higher ed and how TxDLA definitely helps me. And I actually am a past president of TxDLA and have been with TxDLA since, oh my gosh, 99, 2000, something like that. So, long time.
Great. Thanks, Rhonda. I'm Kelli Erwin. I am currently with learning.com. We are a kindergarten through 12th grade digital literacy curriculum provider. I am a former classroom teacher, former district administrator for not only gifted and talented, but instructional technology. So that's kind of where I am. I've been in the field of education little over 20 years and came to education from the financial industry. I was a VP at a financial institution, Texas First Bank, as well as a loan compliance officer and doing professional development for adults. So I kind of span the K through adult range and have really enjoyed being a part of TxDLA since 2008. And I first came on board learning about TxDLA when I was a virtual instructor for the Pasadena Independent School District virtual school. So I'm going to kind of bring a little bit of both sides to it as we talk through today. Jenell, I'll pass it to you.
Well, hello, everyone. Super excited to be here. My name is Jenell Paul, and I am with Texas Health and Human Services Commission. I've been with Texas Health and Human Services Commission now for about almost 6 years and super excited. Prior to that, I was with another organization, which was Family and Protective Services. And before that, I won't go back because there's too many decades there. But what I will tell you is that although my undergrad is in engineering, I was able to bridge the gap because I actually started training with Atlantic Richfield Oil and Gas Company years ago as a trainer for some engineering kinds of things. And that theme has continued throughout my career. And so as I looked at things related to training and learning, that has connected me. Even as an analyst, I usually was the one who actually helped train our workforce, even working behind the scenes in the IT arena. And so this learning process has been a lifelong thing. I am happy to say I found TxDLA, which is my people. And probably a little bit after 2010, I think I'd come to maybe one or two events and then eventually just went all gung-ho in at DFPS prior to that time. So about probably 12-ish or so, we started really paying more attention and then began to do the first presentation. And let me tell you, the group embraced us so that they can't get rid of us. It truly is a family. And I will tell you, even in government and industry, one of the great things is that the skills are the same. They're transferable. There are things that even though we might be a small segment, when we look at government, nonprofit, and industry, one of the things is that we are still teaching people to learn. We are still looking at things creatively. And then we are actually benefiting from K through 12, as well as higher ed for when you come into the workforce. So to me, this represents the full continuum. And I am super excited to speak with my colleagues today and just share any information that could be helpful to anyone. So,
well, and Jenell did forget to mention she is president-elect of TxDLA.
That's
and
right.
Conference together. And I would like to say, we are talking about family. I actually met my husband at TxDLA, and so it's definitely a bigger family than you can imagine.
And I didn't even know that part of the story. So that's great. So now you guys know a little bit about who we are. So let's dive in and talk about what we're talking about today, which is how we all feed off of each other. And by each other, I don't just mean the three of us, but I mean from K-12 to industry to higher ed. Well, that's probably not the right order, but it could be. And on into government. So when we think about what we all do, we all try to help someone learn, whether it's a young child to an adult, right? We are all trying to make a change in someone's behavior, thoughts, or feelings, which truly helps them learn. And it helps them go from their initial learning experience to the transformation of being able to take whatever it was they learned and transfer it into whatever experience they may be in currently, or that they may encounter in the future. So that's a little bit about kind of setting the stage for how we wanted to talk today. Learning is a shared experience. We know we are each other's best resources. And so what we thought we'd do today is, between the three of us, just kind of bounce off of our experiences and help kind of set the stage for not just what conference is, but truly for what TxDLA is and what we do, right? I'm super excited that we're doing this today, because today is Digital Learning Day. And that's what we are all about, right? Whether it's for our young students to our adults, we are all about digital learning, right? And maybe we started under the idea of distance learning, but distance learning has evolved, right? Classroom learning has evolved, right? When we say classroom, it could be in a brick and mortar building, it could be online, it could be in a training center somewhere. So that's kind of the premise of where we're coming from today, is that it doesn't matter what kind of learner it is. We learn from each other to help prepare these learners for whatever jobs may be in the future, right? We know where we are, we know some of the digital skills we need, but who knows what the future brings. So we're going to kind of share some of how we learn from each other, how we learn from others at conference, and kind of set the stage for all of the amazing learning and camaraderie, for that matter, that will happen in just a few weeks at the in-person conference. So I'll kick it off with K-12. Like I said before, I was a classroom teacher. I was in instructional technology. I was in administration, as well as teaching in a virtual school. And one of the most important things for me in designing any of those learning experiences was really connecting with industry and understanding what the expectations were. I've taught in a variety of different school districts here in Texas, and one of the biggest eye openers to me was how willing industry was, whether it was a small mom and pop business to one of our plants in the area, how willing they were to work with teachers to help make sure teachers understood what they were looking for, right? And you think a kindergartner, really, I need to be aware of industry for kindergarten? Well, you do, because that's when we start introducing careers, right? As young as kindergarten. So it's taking all of that knowledge and understanding how we help K through 12 students set that stage, set the foundation, and then even start being interested in what their future might hold, whether it's going into a job or going to college and then into a job. So for me, being a part of TxDLA and going to the conference helps me build those connections to learn how I'm going to write the curriculum, to figure out how to integrate more. So that's kind of where I start from the K-12 side, and I'll pass it to either Rhonda or Jenell, whoever wants to piggyback off of that.
Yeah, so it's really interesting thinking about kind of that connection, no matter where you are. So, you know, I've been a K-12 teacher, I've been in higher ed, I've been in corporate, I do stuff for nonprofit. I mean, and you still see this whole idea of building those skills. And so one of the things that I started thinking about, Kelli, when you were talking about K-12 was, you know, I don't know about you, but I had a job when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't my career, right? But there's skills you're starting to build up. And so if you think about that in a capacity of going to, TxDLA conference, or even some of the other things that we do as an organization, is that those skills, though, may not be the career you want to go into, or maybe that institution that you want to go to for higher ed, or maybe you go into a community college, or maybe you're in high school and you do dual credit. But it's thinking about those skills. And every time that I walk into a session or start talking to somebody, one of the things that I find are those skill sets. And how can I take that? It may not be exactly the way they're talking about it, but it's still a relevant skill that maybe the people that I'm training or the people that I'm teaching are needing. How can I take that innovation that they're doing, or the approach they're taking, or just, a different way of thinking about things, and bringing that to help me as an instructor or a designer or, a teacher or whatever it is, into what I'm doing, and figuring out, okay, I think I can take that and I think I can kind of mold it my way, because I can go and talk to somebody in the exact same field, teaching the exact same thing or training the same thing, and I'm still going to do it just a little bit different. But I'm taking that information and being able to, my favorite thing is just sitting down with someone, especially someone I don't know, which is kind of hard to do sometimes at TxDLA, because we all know each other, and I love bringing in new people. Is that, how are you doing things? How did you say that for people to resonate with it enough to now embody that, or empower them to do something? Because I need that skill. Right? I need to figure that out. And so, to me, that's the most fun, is just kind of listening and just kind of taking those nuggets and then molding them into something that I do. I know, Jenell, if you're sitting there going, I bet you take that a lot.
I am. So, as both of you were sharing, one of the things is like Stephen Covey's, his 7th habit, sharpening the saw. Mm-hmm. That is one of the things I think that particularly I see, is that we are continually sharpening our saw, making sure that we're honing in on our craft. No one knows all of it. No one knows every feature of every software or every platform or every tool that we use. And so usually what ends up happening, especially for us here, we began to recreate. We did this before at my previous agency, but we're doing it now, is creating a digital community, because oftentimes it's those tips and tricks that we pick up the skill set, and it makes sure that we stay inquisitive. Because one of the things is, when you lose that natural curiosity, you've lost the creativity. And so engaging with each other constantly, and being able to have a pool of people that I know I'm going to see at least twice a year. Prior to COVID, I'd see them at least twice a year. And it really inspires us. And even here, our vision statement is inspiring a community of continuous learning. So if we're trying to do that with our learners, and keeping the learner first and being learner focused, one of the things is using their experiences. And like each of you were saying, how do we make sure that we are building on that continuum, right? And so when we look at the user, look at the skill sets they bring, and then build on those skill sets. And for us, likewise, it's also in the workforce, it's demonstrative. Because whatever we're talking about, you've got to be able to perform it moving forward. And so, how do you begin to talk about assessing a person's skill set? Do we have the tools in place? All those kinds of things. And going to these conferences allows us an opportunity to see, what are you doing? How are you making sure that you're able to measure that transfer of learning? How are you getting feedback on your programs? And what are the standards, things like that. And so what we find is, when we go to these conferences, although we might be, like you said, Rhonda, we're all doing it a little bit different. There's usually some baseline though that we all have to meet. And it helps us adjust that baseline so that we can make sure that we're still meeting at least an industry standard and that we're pushing ourselves a little bit farther. And for us, is when we look at, I know a lot of times people will initially, they're like, oh, it's mostly this segment, or, you know, it's not our segment. And it's like, but those are transferable, guys. Think about it. The skills that K through 12 are learning, a lot of parents are learning those skills alongside their kids. And then they come to work and they'll say, you know, my kids, they have a reverse classroom, and why aren't we doing something like this to learn some things at work? And you're like, what is that? What do we do? You know, so the terminology starts becoming more mainstream. And then also we're receiving graduates from higher ed. And so how do we meet them where they are? Like right now, we're looking at Google. Google has, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google has everything everyone needs, and it's awesome. But in the workforce, we're using most of the time Microsoft still. So how do we make sure that people are prepared and can demonstrate, those are the same skill sets, we just need you to transfer them over. And most of this is on a security, you know, for security purposes, why we use Microsoft more so. But the fact that we can understand, you've got your G drive, which equals your OneDrive, and do those equivalencies so that people aren't fearful of making those transitions. I'm sorry, you know me, guys.
No. So I want to throw out a question to y'all. So you look at the program. I mean, we've all done this at conferences, right? You open the program, you look at the sessions going on, and you're like, I don't know if I really see anything that resonates with me. What do you do? What do you look for, and how do you determine what you're going to go see? Kind of, you know, if someone feels like, you know, oh, but there's nothing here for K-12 or for government, but what do you look for when you're looking at the sessions?
I don't look for government or nonprofit for me. For me, I'm looking at, we're implementing a new platform. What speaks to the platform? Or, you know what, we're really struggling with accessibility. We need everyone to embrace accessibility. What are the workshops that thematically speak to accessibility? If we're looking for new tools, what are those tools, those opportunities for tools? Quality matters. What, you know, do we need to brush up on that? So there's various things, and I think more I look at thematically versus categorizing things, because truly we are sharpening each other's saws. And if we limit ourselves to only looking at what was predefined, because oftentimes we get people that come into some of the other workshops and they're like, you know what, I think we have one this year that's about learner focused. And it's like, that has learner focus is whether you're K through 12 or higher ed. It's like, so I think I look thematically at for me.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, Jenell. You know, there are so many conferences that I go to that are K-12 focused, right? Or even K-8 focused, that when I go to those conferences, that's what I'm looking for. What's going on currently? What are the trends? But when I go to TxDLA, this is when I kind of open my lens, right? One of my favorite conference themes that I went to, and it was maybe 5 years ago. I'm sorry, I've kind of lost track of time with COVID, but I think it was about 5 years ago. And there was a strand that was really on gamification and gamified learning. And the company that I was working for, learning.com, we were really looking to bring both into the mix for how we handled our K-12 curriculum. And so my main focus was, okay, that's great. How are they doing it in higher ed? What can we do to prepare our students to be ready for that type of environment? And it was fantastic going to the sessions because, you know, in my mind, I was thinking, what are they doing in higher ed? Which was great. And I learned a lot from those sessions, but I also learned a lot from going to the corporate sessions that really showed about how badging and certifications and things like that were coming into play in the gamified experience and gamification environment. And so that's sort of what drives me, right? So it's really neat to go into these different sessions, sort of by theme, like you were saying, Jenell, for the nuggets, the golden nuggets that I can pick up and take back and use. And I find myself, because I had, well, one of my sons just graduated from college in December, but the other is still in college. And so I find myself going and learning from everyone at TxDLA. And this is good and bad, because then I go back and I'll go, ooh, what are you doing in your class? Ooh, how are your professors handling this? What is it? You know, and my sons will go, oh, mom, stop. They're not going to, not everybody's going to do it the right way. Like, can we just get on with this? But I do find myself really trying to gather that information from all sides, because that is what allows me to take back and help set the stage and prepare our K-12 students for whatever that next environment may be, whether it's technical school or it's university or it's going straight into the job. If we don't set that foundation for the kiddos right now, they're going to struggle once they move forward. So I look for those kind of themes, like Jenell said, that will help me continue down that path.
So
what about you, Rhonda?
Yeah, so I think that I kind of go along that line, but one of the things that I like to do is look at things that, it's gonna sound weird, that I have nothing to do with, that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing, because it may be more challenging and I may actually find something in there that, okay, I never thought about it that way. And you know, because y'all have heard as long, you know, I've been going to TxDLA conferences for 22 years now, and so it's, you know, now how can I challenge myself to now get outside of my comfort zone? And I can tell you that every time I've done that, I have walked out of a session going, wow, now I need to go find a reason to use that. No, but, or even, you know, how can I tweak that? Maybe I do need to tweak it a little bit to make it work with what I'm doing at the moment. But to me, it really starts kind of like Jenell was saying earlier, that curiosity, that creativity, yes, that word, creativeness, that's what I was actually looking for, but of thought, right? And that's what, when I walk out and go home, those are usually the ones that I come back going, I need to go back and look at, you know, that session, or, you know, I need to go talk to that person again because of that particular thing they said, or whatever it is. So, you know, I think I kind of balance between, okay, I really probably need to learn a little bit more about this because this is what we're doing in my job or what I'm teaching, but what can I do to just do something different and learn from something that I didn't know if I was going to learn something from. So that's
awesome.
Okay, so I have a question. So aside from the amazing sessions that we always have, which, you know, we have such a great variety of sessions at conference, that's always exciting. And so that's a favorite, but what are some other favorite parts of conference do you have?
Besides the networking piece, and I don't mean traditional networking, it is just the organic networking that happens. And one of the things that has really served us well, particularly here, we just moved into a brand new building and we have some amazing training rooms, quote, classrooms, right? And that could not have happened had I not had a network of people that I was able to talk with from TxDLA, and then also talking through the various conferences of, hey, we're doing a building, we're getting a brand new building here in Austin. What are some things that you ran into as either they created new spaces for their campuses, but that was a resource that was just organically built into being a part of TxDLA. And so I was able to ask them really good questions from lessons learned so that we didn't stumble across the same things and some of those opportunities. And so not necessarily just for edification for me, but also for the organization and cost savings and strategically planning things out beyond the moment. And I think those kinds of things are baked in, and you don't even realize they're there until you start calling on them. You know, simply some still case learning centers that Texas A&M used. Ooh, Rhonda. Those things are, you know, they're instrumental in how it gives us another opportunity to really engage people in a different way. Adult learners need to be challenged the same as any other learner that's in a formalized school program, whether it's K through 12 or higher ed. And that was part of the process, was how do we make sure that we keep people engaged? The attention span is less than 3 minutes now. I think we're down close to 2. And it doesn't change for adults. And that's the thing. How do we make sure that we're still meeting our mark? And how do we make sure we're still engaging them, but still balancing accessibility when we do those kinds of things? I'm not sure if I answered, but
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, and I love the whole idea of that organicness of it, right? And if you think about TxDLA and especially the conference, we try to build those in, right? I mean, we have times that you can just go and you know, the exhibit hall opens, and that's another, just a whole nother conversation, right? Being able to go and see the different innovations and trends coming in by talking to the people in industry and what they're doing. But the other part of that is when you're walking around, I don't know if you've ever done this. So I'm walking around, I'm listening as I'm walking by a booth and hearing what they're saying. And then I'll catch something. It's like, ah, that sounded so much. And you just walk up and start listening to what they were saying, right? And or talking to them and asking questions. But, you know, we have other things like, you know, one of the things we like to do is have fun. Of course, it's in our bylaws and are part of our goals. And, you know, one of the things we do is our evening kind of celebration, that party kind of thing. Don't really say party, but celebration. But it's an opportunity to kind of just get with other people, do different things, right? I mean, we always have tables set out or different, you know, I'm standing in line getting food, and I can't tell you how many times I've started the coolest conversations and we end up having to go back to the same table because we can't, you know, we need to finish that conversation. Or we have our jam session that goes on. I mean, there's different types and different ways that outside of those sessions and outside of our keynotes, which are going to be amazing this year. But besides those, there's so many different opportunities as you're there to intermingle with people and not just be part of your, you know, your crew that you go around with all the time. But, you know, one of the things I would say, get away from your crew, get away from the people you know, and go find people that you don't. Because that's, I mean, you know, you can always go back to a crew and ask them questions, but that's when you find your gems, your other things that's out there.
I would have to say, aside from both of the things that you all just said, I think one of my favorite things is when our coastal regional groups, well, coastal for me, but when our regional groups get together and have our meetings, it's really nice to be face to face with people that are in your region that span, you know, K through industry, right? Because it's just different, right? I mean, we all have problems unique to the environment we work in, whether it's K-12, higher ed, industry, government. We all have our unique problems. But when we all get into the same room together and we're sharing those things and we're bouncing ideas off of each other, it's amazing some of the solutions we come up with and some of the conversations that we have. And those really do drive how we, as a smaller professional learning community, work together and feed off of each other. And then those smaller groups always inevitably end up feeding up into the larger group of TxDLA when we're having sessions, when we're submitting conversations, when we do leadership. I mean, it's just, it's phenomenal to me how we really do, intentionally or not, kind of scaffold how we solve problems across the range. Again, whether it's K through adult or it's, our different regions up to the larger TxDLA. So I think that's one of my favorite things too.
So I love what Janet and Raymond said in the chat, that the kind of the atmosphere of TxDLA is welcoming and kind of open, being able to know that you're not going to ask a stupid question, because we've all asked that question, right? At some point, being able to be there. And Raymond even says we're crazy. I don't know. Are we crazy?
I think I might agree.
And I think I cut you off. Sorry, Jenell.
No, I was just thinking, if you had to categorically say, do you think oftentimes some of the silos that are created by categorization really are just they're categories, but do you think if you had to say, we tend to tear those silos down because of the way we work, and it's so easy to just pick up and help? I know the first conference I went to, it's like, you need help? Oh, I'll help you. And it wasn't like, are you a member? Are you this? Are you that? Do you think that contributes to the environment that allows so much engagement in a fundamental way, regardless of kind of commenting on one of the chats in regards to if you are an introvert and how you can contribute?
Well, that's a good question, Jenell. And I do think, I think, like I said at the beginning, inherently we learn from each other. We're all teachers of some kind, right? Maybe not in the classroom, but we all have that passion to share and to help and to provide. And I think you're right. I think we may be siloed, but we don't even see the silos when we're at conference or even beyond, right? Maybe that's just TxDLA as a whole, because I don't feel that with all of the organizations that I'm a part of. TxDLA is a very different learning community. I mean, we're a community, right? We're an organization, but we truly are a community, and we all pull together to share information. Maybe even if we don't even realize that we're asking for it, kind of like to your point a minute ago about building this new training center. Like you don't even know that you need to know, or to Rhonda's point, you're walking by in the vendor hall and you hear something. I mean, I think it's a very different dynamic that this organization has.
Well, and one of the things that I absolutely love about this organization compared to some of the others is that we don't care where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care your constituency. We don't care if you're new or been in the business for 50 years. We don't care about those things, because we really care about more about, what do you know? Oh, what have you done? Oh, what do you think? How would you do it? You've never done it before, but we would love to hear those ideas. And that's what keeps me engaged with TxDLA, is that, even sitting here on this call, we have, higher ed and government and K-12 and industry. And it's like, but we don't care, we want to hear from each other and want to know what is happening. What is the trend in your area? And we don't even care if you're from Texas. We have such a huge outside of Texas group that we love them. And to me, that is, that is the family. That is, let's bring us all together. Let's figure this out together is what one of the things I absolutely love. So
I think so. I think that's such a good point, because, we do come together as a group. We all know we use different tools. We all know we have different experiences, but regardless of all of that, our focus is helping the learner, and the learner may be us, right? I mean, it's not just the learners that we deliver training to or learning experiences to. It truly can be any of us. And conference is not only designed for people to share, but it's designed for people to learn. And it does build that bridge between all of us, regardless of where we are. Like you said, Rhonda, from kindergarten through industry, government, higher ed, whatever, there is a bridge that connects all of us. And to me, going to conference is that thing that sort of, well, maybe saying spark isn't a good analogy with a bridge, but but nonetheless, you get the idea. It sparks us in our learning and our sharing. And to me, that's always phenomenal and exciting experience. We are at almost 40 minutes in, which is hard to believe. It doesn't feel like we have been talking that long, but we have. I do want to make sure that we share out this reminder about conference in case you haven't registered. There's a QR code that you can register, or here's the web address to go register for conference. So I want to make sure I put that up while we continue to talk. Do we have any other questions that have popped up in the chat area? Or have we kind of talked through all the comments and questions?
Now, I mean, Ray showed an experience of kind of that, learning from a different group, different constituency than what he was from. And yeah, we really, even though he mentioned it was Blackboard world, but that's okay. But at TxDLA, that's what we try to do, right? We try to kind of break that down and understand that. I can't tell you how much I've learned from Jenell. And the thing is that it's not always knowledge about my job. It could be about leadership or camaraderie or the, just different pieces of those soft skills as well that you can also pick up on. Mentoring. I mean, we are all here to help each other and to guide each other. And that, I think that mentorship, I've mentored quite a few people, I'm sure y'all have too, through TxDLA, saying, hey, I need to do this. I would love to be able to, not only pick your brain about this, but, I like the way you do this thing, how do you do that? But I like that cross-pollination, or that ability to be able to do that.
I think it's so important. It's giving us an opportunity also. I love it what you said, to build our own skill sets as well. Oftentimes we have people that will join up and they're like, oh no, I'm a new member. And it's like, oh no, come on, go on in. And before you know it, I mean, how many times do you join an organization that's established and you throw out some ideas and people actually listen? And then they're inquiring about, that's valid. Let's listen to what you have to say. And before you know it, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm making an impact. And even if it's modified or it's changed or, it evolves, it's still something that we find value in each other. And I think that has been phenomenal. Also giving confidence to many people who were like, oh, I just do this. And it's like, before they know it, they're like, oh, I'm leading, I'm sharing this, I'm doing this. And it's like, but I'm having fun and I want to come back.
Yeah, we like volunteers.
That's a good point, you guys, because when I first joined TxDLA, the first couple of years, I was that new member, deer in the headlights. Oh my goodness, I have so much I need to learn. I can't volunteer. I can't do this. I can't do that because I'm here for a certain purpose and my school district paid. And then what I realized over those first couple of years was while that is true, that's very valid. It was the volunteering and being a part of different conversations and different areas of the not just the conference, but the organization, that I really learned even more, right? I met amazing people that I learned from, that I grabbed ideas and ideas shared. And volunteering was sort of definitely that next step for me. And I don't volunteer at every organization that I'm a part of. Just, for obvious reasons, right? We're all a part of a lot of different organizations, and time is a factor, but it was very important to me to not just volunteer, but get more involved with TxDLA over the years, because and I tell people this regularly, this is my favorite conference to go to. It is the one that I get the most out of, because I feel like it spans such a wide audience.
Well, and I'm so glad that you did, because we are co-chairing the professional development together.
Which is exciting. And this is our first professional development session that we're doing for this year. And when Rhonda and I were kind of throwing ideas out on what we wanted to do, we really wanted to do something that kind of helped show the value, not just of conference, but of TxDLA, and share with you all why we do what we do here. And when we were talking, it was just that, Jenell is the perfect person to come in and join us for this chat and share her side of it and her view on how this bridge is really built between all of us and how we all stay connected. And we truly are. We're a family of professionals, period, end of discussion. Doesn't matter what area you come from. And so it's exciting. And one of the things that Rhonda and I are working on is, okay, what comes next, right? What kind of ideas do we want to bring to the group? And not just us presenting, but who's interested in sharing through TxDLA your experiences, your ideas. And part of what we hope from conferences is that we are picking up those golden nuggets that maybe help us understand what, as a whole organization, what our constituents are really looking for. What other things can we provide? So hopefully you guys register and you guys are able to go to conference, but if not, we ask that you still share your thoughts and your ideas with us on what other things you want to learn. Rhonda, you want to add anything to that?
So, as you're talking, one of the things that I would like to do, and we can talk to Lisa about how the best way to do this is maybe have a Google Doc that we can, or a Google form that people, anytime it's on our website, you can say, hey, this would be a great thing to do, so we can get that. And we could also use it, a QR code at the conference. People can go scan and turn in their ideas as well. Because we definitely want to make this, one of the things, right when the pandemic started, WUFU form, yes, Lisa. Sorry. Back when, the pandemic started, we did, I can't even think of what we called it now, but we did a session.
Like the day of learning, where it was focused on.
Well, we started off with like twice a week. We,
those
getting you ready for what is happening with the pandemic and how to do this and stuff like that. And then, we kind of transitioned to once a week during the summer. And then, so anyway, we continued these, and then we end up going to constituency days. We talk all about this, about, breaking down the silos, and then we do a constituency day. It's great. But, one of the things is, what can we do? What can TxDLA do for our members? What are you looking for? What are the hot things on your brain that's like, I really want to learn more about this. I heard about this somewhere, but I want to learn more. Or I know we've talked about this before, but it seems like it's shifted some. How can we do another session that talks about this? Or, I need some grants. How can we do that? So what are the different things that you would want? And then Kelli and I will take that, and we will find people and dates to do that. I think we're going to start trying to do it more of on a definitely on a consistent monthly basis right now. And then, maybe even, we've done places I've been at before with the, Friday webinar series or, something, we can figure out a cool title, but trying to figure out what that looks like. But again, benefiting our members. But the nice thing is that these webinars are open for anybody. They don't have to be a member. So if you find someone that's in your organization or that that says, hey, this is a great topic, come and join. And then they'll also learn about TxDLA. Well, how wonderful the community we are and family. So
think about the cost, guys. This is just like $35 to be a member, even if you don't go to the conference and you still get exposed to all this great stuff. I mean, it's hands down one of the most informative and cheapest ways to get connected in a field that is going to be helpful to you. When you look at that, or if you happen to go to the conference, even if it's virtual, you still get membership for a year. I mean, you can't sneeze at that. I mean, that's and you get some additional little webinars and trainings and different things you get exposed to. Oftentimes that's not available. Usually it's a shot in the arm. You go to that conference and by gosh, don't ask us for anything else. But TxDLA is quite generous, and I think it speaks to the volunteerism of people wanting to stay connected, people wanting to stay on top of their game and continuing to sharpen their saw and bridge those gaps between, so that we don't have such a need from one constituency to another. And I think that's the other thing, is we push each other. We push each other. We're going to ask those questions that will help make sure that we maintain a level of expertise and, like we were saying, that curiosity that continues to churn and says, what's next? Where are we headed next? I think that is critical in so many ways, especially as we're facing, for us, we're recalibrating right now. The workforce, again, is looking at how do we bring people back in? And, that's something that we've been ebbing and flowing as things change here and there. But as we look at this, we're also looking at what's happening in higher ed, what's happening in K through 12. I know a lot of times when this first started, people were like, just throw everything online. We're like, no, it doesn't work that easy. No. And so, because of that, we came up with different flavors of offerings based upon, people, even though everyone was in the home, but they couldn't stay plugged in for 8 hours on a screen. So, how do you start meeting your learners where they are and then sharing those ideas across the various segments? And I think that's one of the things that's even drawn us closer, even doing our first virtual conference in the middle of this, looking at, and we were thinking, how are we going to, I'm thinking about what you said, Rhonda, how are we going to engage everyone? We're so used to being, in one spot. But we were able to get that done, and we have continued to do that. So looking at hybrid solutions that get us beyond just checking the box, but engaging people, keeping them engaged.
You said something that sparked a thought. And while we're talking about learning and how do we engage learners and, how do we prepare students for the future? One of the things that was a real eye opener for me during the pandemic, and for a lot of people that I've talked to, is the reality of how we're all connected. Not just everybody went online and had to, learn or work from online, but how did that actually impact all of these different areas, right? So if students have to be online for X number of hours a day in K-12 learning, how does that impact their parents who may be working for the government or higher ed or in industry, and how do we all fit together, and how are we all connected even on sort of that side of the coin beyond just the learning experience?
It's
So we only have about 5 minutes left, you guys. This has flown by. Do we have any other last minute questions that have popped up that maybe we can address, or stories to tell, things to share before we wrap this up? No, that's fine. I'm not watching chat, so I wasn't sure. I keep seeing the numbers go up, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it's kind of a quiet group for TxDLA. I don't know. But yeah, nothing. Laura did say that she's presenting on COVID impact and student, how did COVID impact student teaching.
Oh, that's interesting,
And
because I'm sure that's huge. My
Yeah.
goodness, doing your classroom visits and doing it. Wow, it does. It changes everything. That's very interesting.
Well, and there were a lot of school districts that probably didn't let student teachers in, at that time.
Oh, Janet's looking forward to the on-site conference. Yay!
Yay! It's going to be fun. It's going to be nice to see people in person in their
Laura,
human
too.
self versus their virtual human self. So
Like,
it's very
we
exciting.
recognize each other when we get there,
Awesome.
But do you want
That's
to stop sharing, and
I will.
we can stop Lisa the spotlighting, and we can like pull everyone up on the screen and
Yay.
because people didn't have to get off their videos except for us. What?
Here are some real life
It's
faces.
Ray. Hi, Ray.
Hey, no, I'm excited about the in-person too. I had the option to go into Orlando this year and chose TxDLA instead. So
Yay!
Yay.
I'm so excited. Now that I get to see who's here, it's like, I see all these familiar faces. It's great.
It's very exciting. Thank you all for taking your bite-sized lunchtime to join us for a good chat. And it will be nice to see some familiar faces at conference, whether it's in person or virtual. It will be exciting. And I know Rhonda and I are excited about coming up with some additional professional development sessions and getting them on the books. So, pay attention to the website and to emails as we get those set up and planned moving forward.
They probably won't start until May, because we have, the conference in March, we have the virtual conference in April. So those will probably start off in May.
Oh, come on, Rhonda. Come on, Kelli.
Sure, we can plan another one.
Why not? But I will say this, if someone has an idea for something they would like to share, let us know, because it's not out of question for us to come up with something sooner. We just know that people will be focused on in-person conference and virtual conference during March and April. But absolutely, if someone has an idea, we're willing to entertain it and see what we can come up with. Maybe not something in March, just because that's in person, but maybe we could come up with something for April.
Maybe. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us. And can't wait to see y'all.
That'll be good.
Absolutely.
You guys have
Look forward to seeing you in Galveston.
Just a
Or online.
month away.
Yes.
So, all right. Thanks, you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you soon, whether it's in person or virtual.
Hey, Jenell.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.